This video is a video response to cwlongshot, and this is my Savage 340A chambered in 30-30 Winchester. Earlier today, cwlongshot posted a video, and it's titled My Savage 340B 22 Hornet Project. If you haven't watched that video, I recommend you take a look at that before you watch the balance of this video, because mine is in response to his. He's working on a project of barreling a Savage 340 with a replacement barrel that's 22 Hornet. And he had some questions regarding the extractor and how things look at the breech end of the barrel when a round is inside the chamber. How does the rim protrude from the barrel? And in his video he has some pretty good views of the breech end of a 340 barrel. It has a radiused portion that comes out to where the rim of the case engages the barrel. So I'll slip the magazine out. To get the bolt out of a 340 you have to pull the trigger, so we'll pull the bolt out. So to talk about the first part, what does the extractor look like? And I don't know if he has the extractor or if he's going to have to come up with it, but you can see that here on the front of the bolt, on the face, there's these two ears, and they're a piece of spring steel that wraps half of the circumference around the bolt, and it's inlet in. And when the bolt picks up around, it slides up under like this, and that's how it's held to the bolt face. So there's not a ton of grip on the case. So it's really depending on the large rim of the case to keep things, tight to the bolt face. But that's how that works. It's a spring steel part with a little bit of a dimple stamped into it. It comes around over the top of the face of the bolt. You can see that it's there. It's not unlike a Remington that much, except that it's out in the open. It's, where the Remington is the spring steel piece inside the face of the bolt with the, the tooth that grabs on. This is a little bit different, but kind of similar, and it is on both sides. So if the round were in the magazine, it's in like that, the bolt would push on the magazine here, and then as it got up into the feed, it pops in like that, and then it feeds it into the chamber. This is an important part of the 340, because if you look at cwlongshot's video, you'll see that the breech, rather than being an innie, it's an outie. So it's got to be centered up, and it's not really controlled feed, but it's pretty similar. It's holding it in alignment to go into the chamber. And when we look inside of my 340, you'll see a little bit what we're looking at. I'll try to illuminate it. I've got a couple of lights here. I don't know how good a video we'll get inside, but we'll try. So we'll get some flashlights ready to go here. And I'll flip the rifle over. I found that taking the magazine out and looking in it this way may be the better way to do it. So I'm going to hand hold the camera, and I'll get some light up here, and hopefully we can, if I put the light on the bottom, that's going to work well. Alright, so let's look down in there. If you look down in there, you can see what I'm talking about. There's the breech of the barrel, and where the silver ring is, that's the mouth, if you will, of the chamber. And I don't know how well it'll show on the camera, but you can see that it's an outie, kind of like you see in cwlongshot's video. And the brass has to go in a line perfectly with that to go in. So that's where that brass being held to the bolt face is important. I'm going to go ahead and see if upside down and backwards here, if I can, I'm going to put a piece of brass on the bolt and see if I can feed the bolt in to the back of the receiver here. Once again, I'll have to, there, okay, so now we got brass going in. Let's see if I can get some light underneath. That's not too bad. I think I can. This does have a magnet on it. I don't know if I can get it to stick to something there, so it's not treating me real well. Let's see if we can set it there somehow and get the light up in the. It's not illuminating that good. I'm gonna have to hand hold it. This is a 3-hand job, and I only have 2 hands. Okay, so now we can see down in there, and there's the brass trying to come in. I'll try to. I'm going to get a little steel block here and see if I can just old chunks of steel like this are handy for things like this. I'll try to use the magnet on this light. It seems like I would have set this all up before I started the video. Poor planning, eh? Okay. Hey, look at that. I'm getting some light up in there now. Can we see? Yeah, we can see. So, as this goes forward, here comes the brass. You can see the brass trying to line up with the chamber there, and we're losing our light a little bit. I'll try the light from the top now. There we go. So there's the brass, and it's starting to line up with the chamber. And you can see it's off to the side away from me just a little bit. It's not perfectly aligned. Now, if it had a bullet in it, especially a nice round nose bullet, it would guide itself in there pretty nicely. And I've noticed, looking down through the ejection port on my 340 when I'm shooting it, that the bullets tend to enter quite nose up. So it's important to have a, you know, one of the things that's appealing about a 340 is that you can shoot pointy bullets because it doesn't have a tube magazine. But I've found that the pointy bullets are a little fussy feeding as well. Let's see, you can barely get enough light in there. I'm trying to get a good setup here. Maybe I can put the light up here. Yeah, that's a little better, I think. So, and there's a little button on my phone screen right where I want to look. So I'm going to continue to push the bolt in and chamber this case. Okay, so now we're getting closer. So you can see what we're starting to deal with there now. Those two little ears that are the extractor are, you know, on the left and the right side of the case, grabbed onto the rim as the thing starts to go into the chamber. I hope that view is good enough. It's kind of hard to see it. Yeah, you can see it there. It's I'm looking at the phone screen trying to make sure I'm getting a decent shot here. Move this where I can see it a little better too. Right there, maybe. Yeah, there's some more light. Okay, so that helps a bit. Yeah, if we look down in there, you can see those extractor ears on either side of the case grabbing onto the rim. And see if I can get the light to stay. Trying to make this a one-hand operation. All right, yeah, I can see the extractor on the far side. So now I'll push the bolt in the rest of the way. There it goes. And now I think I can close the bolt. And it rotates, but now it's turned so you can't see the teeth on the extractor, because because the bolt rotated 90 degrees, what you see is the spring part of the clip that has the extractor on it. So it's blocking the view a lot now that it's in there. So you kind of have to imagine that those little extractors are on the left and the right. Then when you rotate the bolt, they rotate to be at the top and the bottom. So they go from 3 and 9 to 12 and 6. And they are on the outside of that protruding nipple on the breech of the gun, or the breech of the barrel, I should say. So there needs to be enough of the rim of the case protruding from the chamber in order for them to grab. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of there. I'm going to set the camera down here on the bench, and I'll pull that out, and then we'll just put a bare case in the chamber so there'll be an indication of what it looks like with the brass alone in there. So I'm going to pull this out a little bit first, and I'll try to get another little look in there for cwlongshot. Maybe he can make something of the way that looks. You can see the far side extractor there, and then if we roll this way, you can see the one on that side come into view. Let's see if I can get the camera in a better low battery. I don't want to hear about low battery. Okay, there we go. So you can see the little extractor pieces on each side there, on either side of the case. And then as you rotate as you push the brass forward into the chamber, you can actually see the wear mark on the breech there where that extractor rides. There's a shiny line that the light is highlighting on the breech of the barrel there that you know, it's this guide for the magazine is in the way a little bit too. If this doesn't end up being clear enough, I could take the action out of the stock and show it a little better. But first, let's see if this is helpful to cwlongshot. Let's take the bolt out here. We're hitting on the gun vise. Let's flip this over to make it easier. Okay, there's ejected. There's a standing ejector in here, kind of like a little bit like a Mauser. It sticks up, and that's what ejects the case out. It hits on that. So let's do the same drill, but I will push the brass in by hand so that the bolt's not in the way, and see if we can get a decent view of it. So I'm fishing that in there. I'm going to try to illuminate from the bottom so I can get a better view of the camera from the top and not have to hold it by hand as well. I might be able to put the light right down in there. Oh, look at that. That might work. So I'll get a tool here. Got a little probe tool. Let's use the probe tool, and we'll back the case out, and then I can push it in while I'm filming. Okay, so here we go. Let's try this. There's the... I still can't get a good... You can see the breech. Let's pull the brass out again. You can see the breech there. Right there is the chamber. Boy, it just is not a good way to film this. Alright, we're trying again here. If I can get a... That's about the best view of the chamber that I've had so far. You can see the chamber mouth there. Now it'll be a question of if I can feed brass into it. Okay, so there, I'm starting to get the brass started into it. There we go. So now I'll push the brass in. You can see it going in. Oop, coming out. And then that's right up in there. But my camera view is stinking. And so you can see that the rim is right up and touching, the mouth of that. The case is right up and touching the mouth of the breech there. And that extractor has to grab on that portion of the brass that's protruding out beyond it. See, I don't know if there's enough light there to really see that or not. I'll try to do something a little different here. Okay, I think I finally found a view that might work. It's not focusing as well as I'd like it to, but I'm going to push this case right into there. My depth perception is terrible on this. I can't see what I'm doing. I'm doing it all through the camera. So the brass is going in. I'm in the primer pocket. Okay, there we go. Try to hold it as tight as I can. So you can see that the rim protrudes just that little bit. That you can see the shape. I'll let the brass out again. Oh, easy extract. There's no problem with extracting. It comes right out. So you can see the shape of that, the shape of the breech right there. So I'm just going to use my finger and push that in there. There. So you can see the little outside rim of that protrudes for the extractor to grab onto. So see if I can. Now I think this other piece of brass, I think the shoulder was pushed a little bit more, and I think this one might even, I think the one that I just had in there, one of these two was touching the shoulder before the rim, just barely. It was sized a little long for this rifle. So let's try this one and see what it feels like. Yeah, that one feels like it might be catching on the shoulder, so you can see that one needs to be sized a little bit more probably for this rifle if you were going to try to catch both the rim and the shoulder. But that's what it looks like. You've got that odd shaped breech on the barrel, and that's what it looks like when the cartridge is in there. So I hope that's helpful to cwlongshot for working on setting up the extractor on his 22 Hornet barreled rifle. And I found it pretty interesting that he was taking a Savage and installing the barrel as if it was a Remington, where you usually see more of people taking Remingtons and barreling them like a Savage, putting on a barrel nut. So if you put a barrel nut on a Remington, they call it a Remage. So if you take the barrel nut off of a Savage, I think it would be a Savington. So I'll catch everybody in the next video. I hope this was helpful.